Hello, I'm Dr. Kim Dismont-Robinson, Folklife Officer for the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs. Many of you may recall the enormous surge of energy and community goodwill that circulated following the 2001 Smithsonian Folklife Festival and the 2002 restaging here in Bermuda. During this time, there was a strong focus placed on Bermudian culture and Bermudian tradition bearers, not just the end product, but a conscious recognition and emphasis placed upon the work of the people who make culture. As a part of an effort to continue preserving and promoting our culture, the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs has developed a Folklife Apprenticeship Program. The main objectives of the program, now in its second year, are to foster the development of a new generation of tradition bearers, establish a structure and format for a knowledge transfer program between tradition bearers and young people 35 and under, promote Bermuda's traditions in the community, and compile some best practices on intergenerational learning. This year's participants are Chef Fred Ming and his apprentices Lakai Dill and Jamiko Virgil, Leon Burt in the building arts and his apprentice Damani Burchell, Tom Watson in sustainable agriculture and his apprentice Quincy Burgess, quilter Lynn Morell and her apprentice Laura Lyons, and fisherman Llewellyn Hollis and his apprentice Kishunda Curtis. We are grateful to the tradition bearers for sharing their creativity, their time, their skill, and their wisdom. We appreciate the apprentices for their willingness to learn and to look toward the future of our island's home. This program is a reminder of how thoroughly we are bound together as Bermudians through our shared culture and traditions.
Good day. My name is Fred Ming. I'm the culinary instructor for the Folklife Culinary Program. Today I have with me Lakaya and Jamiko, and they are the two apprentices on this particular culinary program. Today we're going to demonstrate on the cutting up of a chicken for saute, and then we're going to use that as a saute dish, and we're going to add some chopped onions, some mushrooms, tomatoes, and a lovely brown sauce. And then we're going to finalize the dish by doing some plate demonstrations. Okay, guys? Okay. So you're ready to go? Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do for cutting the chicken up for saute is to cut the wings off. And there is the second joint, and you cut right through the skin and everything, and you remove the wings. Now I'm going to take the legs off, and I put the chicken on its side, and then I'm just going to sort of cut through real quickly, and you find that it's a joint right here. So you just slightly break that joint and just cut through. Of course, you don't have to use a whole chicken for this particular dish. You can get pieces of chicken already cut up for you. But certainly, because we are training these young people, I just want to sort of like make sure they understand the procedures of cutting a chicken up, or what we call fabricating a chicken. Okay, so we're just left now with like the chicken breast. And you find the breast part contains all of the white meat. And of course, guys, remember, we have here, which is the thighs and the chicken drumstick, and that's the dark meat. Okay, the dark meat has more cholesterol in it. The white meat, of course, is less cholesterol, and that is something that most people like to sort of eat. Now I'm just cutting a joint again. I'm going to remove what we refer to as the breast, the supremes, and then we just want to separate the carcass. Okay, now the joint, the carcass that's left over, you don't want to sort of like throw this away. You can keep this and boil it down and make a nice stock, a beautiful stock. And of course, the stock's obviously an important thing when you're making a nice pot of soup. Okay, so the next stage of the dish, we need mise en place. Now, mise en place means basic preparations prior to cooking. And in the dish, we have some mushrooms, we have some tomatoes, and we have onions. Now, before we actually put those ingredients in, I'm going to get my two colleagues here to pass the chicken through seasoned flour. Okay, so he's passing the chicken through seasoned flour. So we just lightly coat it with the flour. It doesn't have to be completely saturated, okay? So the main thing at this stage, we want to sort of seal the chicken, all right? Just seal it on both sides. Sealing is retaining the juices, okay? And that's the objective of this lesson right now, is making sure that we cut the chicken up properly for saute, and then when we fry it, it should get like about 350, sort of like the temperature, and the oil should be right. Now, when you hear like a little crackling, it denotes that the oil is ready. Let's see what's happening there in the center.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so that's nicely sealed.
Yes.
So the object is that they're not cooking it out thoroughly.
Yes.
They're just sealing the chicken at this stage. Okay, that can do a bit more. Jamiko, these are the ingredients that we're going to go into the dish, right?
Right.
So we have a little wine. We have the
onion and tomato.
yes, and then of course we have the mushrooms.
Yeah.
Have this other leaf.
Yep, that can come out. See,
All right.
it's a nice color.
Yes.
And
This other leaf.
yeah,
Nice color.
and now we're going to put a little butter into the frying pan, and then can you okay, put the onions in, and this time we're going to use a wooden spatula for the frying pan. Okay, once you get that, and then we're going to add some white wine to the dish. Okay, and of course you can get white cooking wine, or even something like sherry. So you can see that the actual making of the sauce, and by placing the chicken back in there is also going to add more flavor to the sauce. So what we need to do now, Lakaya,
Yes.
is to get your per tongues
Yes.
and just turn those over in the sauce itself. Okay, so then we're going to let that come to the boil, and then we need to sort of like let that simmer. Okay, now what I want to do is to take a piece of chicken, and this is sort of like a piece of the breast, and we're just going to rest that on the top there like that, and we're going to just add that to the side, and then we're going to alternate on this plate. You have some broccoli florets, and have some cooked pieces of noodles. Okay. So as you can see, when you start out with raw materials, what we can end up with. Did you enjoy this?
Absolutely.
What about you, brother?
Yeah, I learned something new.
Ready to mangiare now, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for watching us, and look forward to seeing us again, and have a blessed day.
Hello everyone, my name is Lynn Morell and I am a quilter, and this is my apprentice, Laura Lyons. I am not a traditional quilter in that I don't follow the American patterns. I work more freeform, more art quilting, I think is what it's called. And recently I've gotten very involved in fabric dyeing, fabric printing. Basically it's called surface design, and that's what Laura and I have been doing a lot of work with. I think it interests us more than this straightforward stitching. And today we're starting to dye some fabrics. We start with plain white fabric, which is it's just a nice weight cotton fabric, which is specially prepared for dyeing. Here we have the various dyeing powders and all the different colors that we're going to use. And Laura is starting to set up the dye solutions that we will be working with today. We have to wear the gloves, otherwise we end up with multicolored, interestingly colored fingers and toes. These dyes are permanent, and with these dye powders you can mix them either as a powder or you can mix them once you've got the solutions made up. And to make the solution you have to add, this is soda ash, which is just the same stuff that's in washing powder, this washing soda, and you just make a solution. I'm just putting a little water in each one so I can then stir them up.
And colors are pretty vibrant. I mean, this is actually, this one, it says it's lime green, but it looks like an emerald to me at the moment. But we'll see how it ends up on the fabric. That's the fun thing with dyeing. You're never quite sure what you're going to end up with unless you've been doing this for many, many years. And as I said, this is something I've just recently gotten into, because I find that a lot of the commercial fabrics, they don't always have the color range that I'm looking for a specific project. So that's why I've started dyeing my own fabrics, and it's been exciting having Laura working with me, because it's really pushed me to try things that I maybe wouldn't have tried before. In fact, this is a new technique we're trying right now that I came across online.
I like working with Lynn because we don't always measure things.
It's how I cook too. I'm a really good cook, but don't ask me to make the same thing twice in a row. Otherwise, I think if you get too fussy about the details, then a lot of the fun goes away. And I think one of the main things I love about the quilting world is that it's full of a lot of crazy people having a lot of fun doing what they do. I've ripped strips of fabric. This is that prepared for dyeing fabric, which I get from the States. And I'm just going to twist mine up. You don't have to, you could put it in loosely, but I'm just going to twist it to see what happens.
So the solution, we're just mixing this so the powder completely dissolves into the soda ash. And then once Lynn has finished the next solution, we'll do this layering technique and stick the lid on it and let it sit for the night, which is kind of cool.
I forgot to say why the soda solution is so important. It is the activator. It's what makes the dye bond to the fabric. If you don't have the soda solution in, most of the dye would just wash right out of your fabric. Soda ash solution in the bottom. Put my fabric in on top of that. And then I'm going to use yellow dye. Pour that on top. By doing this, you get a range of pieces of fabric that are related to each other by the way the one color bleeds into the next. It makes like a mottled kind of fabric. Because as soon as you add the soda ash solution to the dye solution, it starts to activate the dyes. So these dyes won't keep more than if you kept them in the refrigerator, you could keep them for about a week to use. But I don't recommend it unless you have a separate fridge. I wouldn't keep them in your home fridge. Now I'm adding an aqua. So my color range has gone from there was a yellow on the bottom through greens, blues. Now I'm going to an aqua. And I think I'll do what Laura's doing. She's going to go and come back to one of the original colors. And I think I will do the same thing just to use up the rest of the solution.
So another cup?
Yep, just to make sure your fabric's all moist.
Okay.
But I'm not squishing it too much.
What about the corners?
Well, what will happen is the color will wick up into the corners.
Right.
So you'll have there'll be some paler patches in your corners, which where you folded could actually make a nice triangular pattern. So that's that. So we leave that to stew literally for, overnight. And put the lid on it just to make sure we don't have any horrible accidents.
My car turns.
Yep. And that's a bucket of fabric all ready to sit and do its thing. And then tomorrow I'll rinse it all out and either be amazed or horrified at how it's turned out. All right, these are some fabrics that we dyed several weeks ago now. There's real experimental stuff, just to basically introduce Laura to the whole notion of the dyes that I use and just playing with it really and seeing what we turn up with. So we've got some really interesting stuff. We've developing a good rapport here, and I think it's a matter of just giving Laura all the knowledge or as many bits of the knowledge I can remember that's in my head, and then she can start to develop. And actually we've just the last session started to identify a direction that you want to work.
Utilize all the different aspects of the dyeing and the applique and your traditional quilting, and also the surface design, bringing in elements of maybe beadwork, or I really like
Yeah.
the idea of metal as well.
Right, and some more sculptural things.
Sculptural elements,
Yeah.
giving it some shape, and so
Yeah.
we'll see what I come up with.
Yeah, that's the excitement of all of this. And I just want a big thank you to the Department of Cultural Affairs. I would never have thought to do this on my own. The fact that they've pushed me into it, very willingly I've been pushed, I am just loving this whole process. And I think it's been a wonderful thing, and may it continue.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Good.
My name is George Burt. This is Damani Barchel. He is engaged in the Folklife Apprenticeship scheme, and what we are intending to do today is to create an eave slate. Also, what we're using, this is recycled apple juice bottles, which we are going to make balustrades out of, that you could use for a garden wall up against an embankment, also a garden wall built on a wall. What we have in the wheelbarrow at the time is the mortar for the eave slate. This mortar has to be just damp, and then we will put it on the mill. We're putting this on here, and once we get sufficient, we start patting it down, and we will batten it with the batten to shape this eave slate out. See why it only has to be damp. If this was soft, we wouldn't get the result that we're looking for. See that? Now you try that. Pack this up in here, the way I packed it down there. Right across the end first. Now what I would like for you to do with that trowel now, yeah? This is making sure that everything is packed on to the board. Okay, you can put some more on top of there and do just as I showed you. Press it on. Let's get in the corners first. Always get your corners. See, once we get that in there, this is what you do. We need a little more. See, just where you were pulling it down. And up in there. See, if I had an 18-inch eave slate, we would have had sufficient. I have a reason for making mine 20 inches. The simple reason why I make these 20 inches, because if you're slating up on a gable end, then you have overhanging slate, which you overhang 2 inches. When you come back to lay your regular slate, your joints are too close. And by making them 20 inches, you have a good break in your joint, your regular slate.
We're gonna need a little bit more.
Yeah, we're gonna need a little more. The idea of doing, putting it in the pail is to get an accurate measurement. When we make up this mortar, it's made up, this gauge you would call 3 to 1. So we're using a bucket and a half of sand there and a half a bucket of cement. See what is happening with this mortar hoe, you don't see these mortar hoes about today. Everyone wants a mixer or put a mixer in a drill and turn all this up. But this is something that has to be done with a mortar hoe in order to keep it dry. This lot of hair dry and less cement, so we use a saw to cut. They made a cut for the hip and all. You could tap that in there. Don't take that out, just tap it in. No. Wet the float. And this is what I'm going to do here. See that? This is done so when this is laid down on the log, you have a finish on there.
Yes.
Okay? Just put a little more there. And just pull in with the float. This is your finished eave slate. So we're going to do the balustrades, and the man is just filming there.
This is number 1 here. More better. I like to put too much than too little.
Okay, these we will leave them here, let them settle a while, then we'll just take the float or something to pull across there to get the water off. Okay, what you see here, this is the finished eave slate, and I would just show you how we would release this wedge here, and the wedge on the other side, we will release that, just ease it out the money. I'm going to just ease this back from there. You see that? And if I trip that up there, I'll break all that edge. By easing it back, we save everything. So the money, just get me one of a bucket from over there. This is the finished product of an eave slate. The balustrades are not finished yet because the water's coming to the top. Simple reason why, because they're laid in a plastic bottle. We have achieved this goal. The money has a few more hours to do in this apprenticeship scheme, and I wish him luck as he goes down the road in this trade in later years. And I hope that he's grasped something from what I have taught him, and he would take that along with him in his journey in the masonry field. Thank you.
My name is George Llewellyn Newhall, commercial fisherman. I was asked to do the apprenticeship scheme. I've got an apprentice which cultural affairs advertised for, and it happened to be a young lady. The young lady, which is standing next to me, her name is Shonda Curtis. We first met, I took her out in my 16-foot boat to teach her water safety and navigation. These lures, which are in front of me, are called sea witches. These sea witches are made of multiple color hair. Cassandra learned how to make these in a short period of time from using the various materials, the sea witch material, the lead heads which you see on the hair, and she whipped them with fine thread. Some of them she's actually coated them, and what you can use when you're making these lures to coat them to make them stand up is fingernail polish, which she used to coat them with. The other lure she learned how to make, which we call a mackerel lure, is a multiple purpose lure, which is made up of 4 or 5 hooks. In fact, you can add as many hooks as you desire to use. And when putting this lure over and trolling behind your boat, you catch your live baits, which would be mackerel or small fish, and you can use them as live baits. And we use this to catch our live baits. She also has been working with me, learning how to actually blow the conch shell, which is one of the old traditions that most fishmongers or fishermen used when they went out to sell the fish. Very good, Cassandra. It's not easy to do, and it takes a while, and if you keep practicing, you'll get better. Now she's going to try my own personal big conch, which has a bassier sound to it. The conch shell she just tried has traveled with me around the world almost, in a lot of places, and most people appreciate when I can get that big loud sound that I'm now going to demonstrate to you, which I learned how to do when I was very, very young. An old fisherman showed me how to blow the skunk shell, and I've been blowing it ever since. The other thing that she's learning how to read, which is an old tradition, is the shark oil barometer. Most fishermen would look at the shark oil barometer every morning before they went fishing. The thing with the shark oil barometer, as this one's showing now, is cloudy. We're due to have some very bad weather. I mainly wanted her to learn how to operate the boat. I mainly wanted her to learn about the safety equipment. And I always tell people safety comes first. This particular radio, which I hold in my hand, has flotation. It has also a GPS built in it, and it has an emergency button that you can push and get your signal to the marine authorities. Also, the big thing about marine radios, most people should, when they go boating, at all times, check the weather forecast.
The forecast for today, winds easterly 5 to 10 knots, gradually veering southeasterly 12 to 18 knots by late afternoon.
This little gadget here, which is a satellite GPS, satellite navigation equipment, if you program it right, will give you your location or the location that you want to go to. Right now, it's programmed and given us the location. The exact spot almost that we're standing now is in this GPS screen, which is Boss's Cove. The other thing is, the old method, before we had all this new GPS system, is the old magnetic compass, which Cassandra had to learn how to read. She also had to learn how to tie various knots for tying up boats, how to overtake another boat, and how to pass another boat port to port when you're approaching a boat. And these are some of the things that anybody that's going to get in the fishing trade needs to know how to operate your equipment to the best of its ability before you can actually do any fishing. What I would like to ask Cassandra, are you happy with what I've been teaching you? That's the main thing. Are you satisfied and happy with my teaching?
Of course, Mr. Hollis.
Okay, this I'm going to say.
Yeah.
You're a very good student.
Okay.
And I'm very, very proud of you.
Thanks.
And what you've been trying to do. I know
brave.
I know you have a very tight schedule, but I'm a hard teacher.
Yes, you
I'm
are.
a hard driver. And
Mr. Hollis was going to have me out in the storm last week, tying up beds. But I was
well,
I'm not ready.
Well, this is part of it. You gotta, if you're gonna be out on the water, you gotta be comfortable.
Good day. Welcome to Luke's Farm. My name is Tom Watson. My friend here is the illustrious Mr. Quincy Burgess himself. Quincy, you got a couple of degrees in talk to me about what you've got in university degrees, plant science and that sort of stuff.
Well, I started my education in Acadia University with a bachelor's degree in biology, and my other agriculture degree is a master's degree in plant sciences from Hebrew University.
Wow. Yeah, he's got a master's. There you go. So Quincy knows a little something about plants. So what we've been doing for the last few months is Quincy has been up here on a learning experience and what have you with us as part of the cultural affairs for the apprenticeship scheme. So Quincy's our apprentice because somebody needs to take that on. So what we do up here is a lot of stuff. Quincy's really at this point more of a plant man, but he's checking the animals. So you got to check, right?
Well, I just as a result of being with Tom, I realized that you just can't. In a biological system, all systems are integrated, so everything is connected. If you just try to focus on plants and not the animals, you miss half of the package. So once you incorporate the value of the animals It's really valueless. The fertilizer from the chickens going into the soil adds biological material, adds good bacteria, which helps the plant roots to grow faster than if you just pump them with chemical fertilizer. So seeing that all in action is different than reading about it in a book in a master's degree situation in a classroom. So
Yeah, well, this is it. This is like the live University of Life right here. So we class this farm. It's not, we say, are you organic? I say, we happen to be organic. But really, we classify this farm as a sustainable, restorative farm. We do this by integrating, as Quincy said, we have the animals. This land here has been out in chickens since Hurricane Fabian. We've got these chickens. We just moved them onto new pasture. What's happening is here, right over here, you have the broiler chickens. These pens are moved every day. This is the last of flock 123, I think. So that's how many flocks we've run through here. And they're moved every day. You'll see where they left the grass, where they've been yesterday, so the land is more fertile. But they leave all this manure behind and everything in its raw state. It's a bit of an issue. So you notice we have a certain amount of grass. It's actually oats grown as a temporary pasture. The brown layer chickens come behind and scratch through that manure. They actually get protein out of the worms and stuff. And thus there's no fly larvae and all this sort of thing. So it's a very interesting system. You can really build your land, and once your land is built, and that's the whole thing, is this whole thing starts from healthy land. Okay, so here we are. We're in one of the hoop houses with the layers. What you got? You got any eggs out there, Quincy? Yeah. Because, there you go. You got a couple of eggs. Okay, so they will lay and live in these little houses at night. They roost up the back. We actually have a light in here that stays on until about 10 at night just to keep the day length constant. But they come out and they'll come out again. They're complete free range in and out of here. Those are a couple of our pigs. These are, I guess we'd refer to them as feeder pigs. Those two black guys right in the front, they're purebred. They call them an Ossabaw by definition. But that is a Bermuda hog. Now the little one in the middle, she's crossbred. She's a little longer and not as deep. But we got onion plants here. They've been hoeing them by hand today, which is all part of the deal because we don't use chemicals for the weed control. We're actually put a blowtorch in there and sort that. Yeah, well, here we are. We're just outside of our greenhouse, and that's a big thing on Quincy. You've done a few things in there, and check that out. But these two big tanks here are pretty simple stuff, but we got 10,000 gallons of water, and from the last couple of showers, so that's huge. This is a massive green. Well, not really massive, but it's 150 feet long and it's 37 feet wide. So we catch a little bit of water here, and here it is. So we'll transfer this we can actually siphon this to our main irrigation tank. So there's no energy used there and stuff. Sends good clean water. Quincy, what are we doing here, boy?
lettuce, basil, thyme, a variety of herbs.
And how are we doing?
Hydroponically. Not everything that grows needs to be grown, or even at times should be grown in soil, from different pathogens, nematodes and fungus, bacteria. So what you do sometimes is you switch from soil completely and grow it completely in water. The benefit, since we're here of the greenhouse, is that you can control the climate inside, called a microclimate, to your specifications. If you go in any closed system, if you get in a room with all light coming in and you close it, immediately the temperature will rise to unpredictable levels, 110 degrees. So at the back we have the water going through the matting, and here you have the fan sucking the air out, so it pulls in the cool, moist air and pushes out the hot air that's being created.
It's, we're so lucky to have someone like Cultural Affairs who would help us do this too, because it's man, it's not easy, and it's been a real pleasure to find somebody who wanted to do this. This is not rocket science. It's a great place to grow. Got to do it. This is what we do.
Yeah.
And that's what I really hope Quincy gets into, this whole thing. That's what it's all about. It's a real deal, right here, right now. Boom.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome, mate. Always a pleasure, bud. Always a pleasure, man. He learned a lot.